Great Millstone Camp here in DC. Check my volume real quick. It should be enough. Here, once again from the Great Millstone Camp, DC. Back for another video. But first and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakal Kodash. Of course, once again, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations also go out to the fellow Akim that are out there week in and week out there on the highways and byways. All right, pushing this truth across the four corners of the earth. All right, aided, of course, by the numerous amounts of videos that go up on it daily from the various camps that are virtually around the world, various countries. All right, and this is what we do using the internet to do the hard work as far as getting out. We don't have to charter jets or anything like that. You know, we use those airways. So, and it has paid dividends, of course. All right. This is the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. However, nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Once again, fair use, fair use, fair use. We're going to go to the professor's site. That's Professor Black Truth. And you heard these two jakes that subdued this maniac that was loaded for bear, so to speak. Killed his ex-wife and her new man. All right. All because he didn't want to pay. I think he was in the arrears and child support for not even $3,000. And you thought it would be, you know what? Let's just roll the video. But let me, before I roll it, guess what they're trying to do to these jakes, as you will see, or as you have already seen in the title for this video. Yeah, you got it.
If you're not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, along with the bell icon so you can be notified whenever a new video is posted. And if you're already subscribed, check and make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. And of course, be sure to give the video a like as well as share it on your social media. The white supremacists hate that. And now, the Sunday address. By now, most of you probably have heard about the Las Vegas grocery store gunman. Last Tuesday, there was an active shooter incident at a grocery store in Las Vegas. 43-year-old Alejandro Estrada stalked his ex-girlfriend, Amanda Rosas. She was the mother of two of his children, but he didn't care about that. What he did care about was the child support payments he was behind on.
Records from March show he owed more than $2,800 in child support. He was ordered to show up in court June 1st to explain.
A police report said that Estrada told his roommate that Amanda was taking him to court for back payments and he feared going to jail for not paying. Well, apparently his plan was that it would be better to go to jail for a double murder instead. He also cared about her husband, Victor Rosas. Victor had two sons from a previous marriage. On last Tuesday, Estrada stalked them to the Smith's grocery store where Amanda and Victor worked. Estrada, armed with a handgun, an assault rifle, and lots of ammunition, went inside and opened fire on aisle 4, killing both Victor and Amanda. While everyone else was running away from the danger, there were two black men who were running toward it, Darius Alston and Marconi Clark. They subdued the shooter and put a little pressure on him to make sure he didn't go anywhere. By the time they were done, there was literally nothing for the thugs in blue to do except for cuff him. So, how big a threat was this guy? Estrada had a Sig Sauer 1911 45 caliber handgun with one round in the chamber and a CZ Scorpion Evo 3 9mm semi-automatic carbine in his backpack, along with numerous loaded magazines for both firearms. So he wasn't just there to kill those two people. You wouldn't need numerous loaded magazines for two separate firearms if you just wanted to kill two unarmed people. He brought enough guns and ammunition to kill a lot of people, not just his ex-girlfriend and her husband. So this was most likely just the beginning of what was supposed to be a murder spree. So, those two black men, who are rightfully being called Good Samaritans, they did more than just catch a murderer. They stopped what would have been a mass murder rampage. How many lives did they save that day? We'll never know, but one thing's clear. A lot of people are making a big deal out of these two black men being unarmed. In fact, that's one word that got used.
And this is something that certain segments of the population here just can't stand. Look at them praising them niggers. Look at what they probably just got back from a gang, some out of this world, some shit that they, whatever's on their minds. Nah, Jake can't be a hero. You can't let them enjoy their flowers for the moment. But see, this is what, you come to the conclusion that, eventually, this, and the scripture said this is not our rest, and you should treat it like that. You should treat this place as, that's what we are actually. Just as my man said in the Chronicles of Riddick, I'm just passing through. Because this is not for us. It never was, and it never will be. That's why it has to be destroyed, wiped off the face of the earth.
Pretty much more than any other. They were unarmed. And while that certainly does speak volumes about their courage and heroism and altruism, there's also a problem with the fact that people feel the need to point that out. Let's be honest here. If either of these two black men shot that guy to death, they would have most likely been killed by the first thug with a badge who showed up at the scene. They certainly would have been arrested and charged with something. You had that case of the alleged gunman in Cambridge. There was a white guy who was not a cop who joined in with the police to open fire on him. Now, if that had been a black man with a gun calling himself helping the police, they would have shot him dead on the spot. You see, they don't fire on black people because a black person is harming someone. They simply do it because they're black. That's the actual rule for these people. Black citizens are never regarded as auxiliaries of the police. The thugs in blue treated a racist punk like Kyle Rittenhouse like he was one of them because he was using violence in the name of maintaining racial superiority. When it comes to non-black individuals who are running around with a gun, as far as the thugs in blue are concerned, well, these are the irregular forces of white supremacy. These two black men subdued a man who had just murdered two people in cold blood and came loaded for bear. It's safe to say he was planning to go out in a blaze of glory, but not before he went ahead and took as many bodies as he could. You don't bring multiple handguns and an assault rifle with you with tons of ammunition unless you intend to kill a lot of people. Now, of course, the racist loudmouths on the white right who are always talking about the need to confront crime and always talking about what to do about these mass shootings, predictably, they're not.
Yeah, and the funny thing about this, as you're going to learn, these guys are, of course, were unarmed. All right. How many times have you heard, especially on the right, well, we need the good guy with a gun to combat the bad guy with the gun. And like he said earlier, suppose these jakes had been armed and would have subdued this guy that way. You just know what was going to happen. There wouldn't be no questions asked when the first cop got on the scene. Who's who? They would have lit these jakes up. Potentially killed them, more than likely killed them. There was an incident some years ago in, I believe it was Portland, where a security guard, just happened to be a Jake, interrupted a robbery, subdued the guy, and guess what happened? Yeah.
Not heaping any sort of praise on these two black men because of the fact that they're black. That goes against the narrative. The narrative is supposed to be that black people are the ones who need to be stopped and black people are just a bunch of mindless criminals. Yeah, this story isn't the kind that they want to highlight. And while even the white authorities out there in Las Vegas are calling these men heroes, mainly because they have to due to the public support they received, the white media nonetheless couldn't resist the urge to ask, is there a way for these two heroes to be charged with a crime?
Now, that shooter wasn't in court due to his injuries he suffered at the hands of those Good Samaritans.
Here we go.
8 News Now reporter Joshua Pagero looking into their actions and if they could face any legal issues.
The shooter is currently at the hospital recovering from the blows he suffered. But could those Good Samaritans be charged for a crime? I asked an attorney.
We asked District Attorney Steve Wolfson if the Good Samaritans would face any charges.
District
The
Attorney
ended up dying for.
So they didn't fuck around. They went to the head guy on the prosecution side, the district attorney.
The injuries he suffered at the hands of the Good Samaritans.
They're heroes. So I can't imagine anything other than praise coming their way.
Your ears were not deceiving you. That's what some idiots
Shut that
actually
shit
have
down.
the nerve to put on the airwaves. This just goes to show that they do this whenever they're talking about a black person, period. This is the white media template for reporting on black people. It doesn't matter if you stopped a mass shooting from taking place. Like, well, can't we charge them for that? They just went out of their way to be able to say, now, why are these black men being allowed to run around free? Isn't someone going to do something about them? You have never and would never see the white media say this about a non-black person, and the commenters on their own video went in on them. They understood exactly what these creeps were doing. What they were hoping to do is to set up somebody in some prosecutor's office somewhere.
Only the media
Shouldn't
comes
we
up
be
with
at least
these dumb
investigating
questions.
these guys? We don't want this to become habit forming for the Negroes. That's what's really going on here. Because this wasn't just clickbait. This is the white media's typical psychopathic anti-black racism on full display. The principle is that a black person has no right to self-defense. And if a black person attempts to defend themselves, then that is the real crime. After all, can you imagine if this gunman had been a white Caucasian instead of a white Latino? Daniel Penny strangled an unarmed man to death even though Jordan Neely hadn't harmed anyone. And the white media got on code as a group, and none of them, not even one of them, dared to report Daniel Penny's name. They knew who he was, but they all decided amongst themselves that there was going to be a media blackout on actually identifying him. They didn't want him to be prosecuted, so hiding his name was part of making sure the public wouldn't be able to bring pressure to bring a case. And they also made sure that when his name did leak, they didn't put out any reporting that would support him being prosecuted. Instead, it was just the same lies they tell when a white cop murders an unarmed black citizen. Why, it's so difficult to prove murder, you know. You never know what a jury will say. The bar is so high. Well, it's just a fact that basically the people of New York are going to be behind Daniel Penny. I mean, they're just so tired of unpleasantness on the subways. They were doing everything that they could to be an unabashed cheerleader for this creep. The white man who joined in with the police to open fire on the accused Cambridge gunman, no one in the white media was asking if that white man could be brought up on weapons charges. They didn't dare say anything like that. Same situation, an active shooter, people were shot, a civilian was involved in quote-unquote taking down the gunman, but in Cambridge, the civilian used a firearm. And more importantly than that, he was white, which completely changed how the white media reported on that incident. Oh, we're not casting aspersions on this guy, because they understand the entire purpose of actually putting out a headline like that, can these good Samaritans be charged with a crime? The entire reason for doing that is to float the idea. You want to get that idea percolating in some prosecutor's head. You want something to be done like that. That's the entire purpose of doing it. It serves no other purpose. This is about enforcing the principle that all...
Again, a couple of scriptures here, because this is what they do to Jake. They immediately, all right, seek to tear Jake's image down. All right, and this is straight up Edomite so-called white supremacy. All right. This is Psalm 62:4. It says, they only consult to cast him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. All right? And that lines up right along with Proverbs 26. And let's go down here to 24. All right? And it says what? He that hateth dissembleth with his lips. They give you all the flattery like you just seen, but behind the scenes, you know, what can we do to, you know, these Negroes, well, you know how they say it, these niggers, well, I ain't gonna let them get away with, no, what can we do? Can they even face charges for what they did? Here this guy is, they didn't, you know, he's sitting up in court, eye all swole up, almost shut. You can see he all bruised up and shit, you know, swelling all around his face. And, you know, and this guy was Northern Kingdom, but again, who knows how he identified or how they identify him. He could have been what the professor here was talking about, Hispanic, but classified as white. You know, who knows what would have happened if this guy was blonde-haired and blue-eyed, you know. straight up Edomite, from the North Country, you know. But here it is again. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. Now, we look that up. And it says Proverbs 26:24 describes a hypocritical individual who conceals deep-seated hostility behind a facade of friendliness. This is typical when we talk about, I got to bring it out, when Malcolm X described the Republicans as the wolves and the Democrats as the foxes, and about how the strategy of the fox, the wolf, you know what the wolf is going to do. You know how the wolf is going to behave. But the fox is going to, try to be your friend. And eventually, who's going to have the chops on the plate? It's going to be the fox. And this is how these Edomites, that segment likes to deal with Jake, and you can appreciate. Even Malcolm X said that. And then the guy that's straightforward, the wolf, But this sly, slick motherfucker, this liberal that Jake has been tricked into thinking they actually care about you. This is what's describing this type of individual. A hypocritical individual who conceals deep-seated hostility behind a facade of friendliness. The verse states that he who hates disguises it with his lips and lays up deceit within himself. Meaning an enemy uses flattering or dissembling speech to hide their true intentions. And boy, don't they. Outward disguise. The hater dissembles or acts as a stranger to their true nature, using their lips to create a deceptive appearance of friendship or agreement. What was that song back in the day? Smiling Faces. I think the OJs had one, but I'm trying to remember who was it. Oh man, y'all gonna know who I'm talking about. Smiling Faces. Was it Undisputed Truth? Let's see. Smiling. When you listen to the words of that, perfect example. The Undisputed Truth. Yep. Smiling Faces. Sometimes. Oh, come on. Oh, I gotta go through this shit. Salaki. Let's see if we can. No, I don't want Temptations version. I want, let's see. The Undisputed Truth. All right. There it is. The Undisputed Truth. Smiling Faces sometimes pretend to be your friend. Smiling faces show no traces of the evil that lurks behind. Can you dig it? Smiling faces sometimes they don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof. Let me tell you, the truth is in the eyes, because the eyes don't lie. Amen. Remember, a smile is just a frown turned upside down, my friend. So hear me when I'm saying, smiling faces sometimes, yeah, they don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof. I'm trying not to sing it. All right, I'm telling you, beware of the pat on the back. It just might hold you back. Jealousy, misery, envy, I tell you, you can't see behind smiling faces sometimes. All right, now, I'll put this in a link if you want to, for those of you who remember the song. All right, so this, yeah, perfect example, like I said.
All black people are never to fight back against anyone for any reason. If you're black, well, you're supposed to hide somewhere and hope that some non-black person does something. That's what this is actually about. It's like we got to get on code and let these black people know, don't think that you're going to be standing up for yourselves, and certainly don't think that you have a right to self-defense. If you try it, you'll be prosecuted. Do you have any idea how many innocent black people have lost their lives because when some critical incident occurred, that black person basically had it in the front of their mind that as a black person, they're always being singled out, always being arrested for no reason, always being prosecuted without cause, and then if you defend yourself, well, all the authorities are going to be on the side of whoever's attacking you. Because the reality is, for most black people, that is precisely the mental calculus that takes place whenever they are accosted by some anti-black racist, like Chud the Butthead. And that's because, just like with this Las Vegas shooter, this is exactly what the authorities do, and the white media cheerleads for it and backs them up every step of the way. Meanwhile, violent white racists like Chud the Bum can attempt to murder a black citizen in broad daylight in front of a courthouse. And then you'll have a judge inside that same courthouse who will grant him bail, even though he's currently already out on bail for a prior offense. And keep in mind, this Estrada guy had a number of previous violent incidents that he'd been involved in.
Do you recall receiving a citation for speeding on December 18th of 2023?
But he's here Thursday for a previous traffic warrant. At times, he appears to doze off. Also on his record, a previous domestic battery arrest, exactly 10 years to the day of the deadly grocery store shooting. The 8 News Now investigators obtaining the report, stating Estrada's own sister said she and her mother showed up to talk to Estrada about money he owed his mother, and he became violent toward both of them. Court records show the case was dismissed after a bench trial was set and prosecutors didn't proceed.
And yet the white media is not very interested in asking, why didn't the prosecutors do something about this guy and bring cases before now? They seem far more interested in asking, what cases can we bring against these two black guys? That's the kind of rampant speculation they want to do now. Can we get a case on these two black guys? They're not asking too much about, hey, why wasn't a case put on Estrada before now? Shows you where their priorities are. So what that means is that if you're the right skin color, bail conditions, such as not getting arrested for any other violations, don't apply to you. So this is not about whatever the alleged charge is. It's about the old racial immunity from law being the totality of the law. And then you got these prosecutors and the white media, all of them on code, to defend that no matter what. Because nobody in the white media is trying to ask, will Chud the Butthead's bail be revoked for having violated his other bail? Oh yeah, there's some headlines about him, but nobody in the white media is trying to use their megaphone to get prosecutors to start doing the common sense work of saying, hey, this guy's already out on bail already. He shouldn't have been granted bail at all. And if you did grant him bail, his other bail certainly should be revoked. Instead, they're using it to try to get prosecutors to begin speculating on whether they should go after black people who didn't harm anyone at all. This is psychopathic racism. This is the face of evil that we're dealing with, and its mouthpiece is the white media. The praise that these two black men are receiving is good, but there shouldn't be anything extraordinary about it because things like this happen practically every single day. There are acts of heroism and altruism from the black community every day. And of course, people ask, why is it that we don't see more stories like this? Well, the reason that you don't see more stories like this in the white media, where they show all the good things that black people do every single day, is for the same reason the white media reflexively felt the need to ask if these two black men could be criminally prosecuted for having saved lives. It's not about whether or not they committed a crime. Black is the crime. The white media understands their job to reinforce and promote anti-black racism, keep up the steady drumbeat, no matter how ridiculous it is. Had these two men killed this Estrada character, this is the narrative that the white media was planning to go with. Why, they killed him, can't they be prosecuted? But even without a dead body, they still put that out there anyway. Well, what if they had killed him? Didn't the gunman have rights? They showed more concern for the rights of a gun-wielding homicidal murderer than they did for an unarmed black man who was having a mental health crisis on public transit in New York, a black man who hadn't harmed anyone. And that's deliberate. Repeating these racial narratives over and over again, this is a key part of how the white media conditions society. This is part of the social conditioning that they subject the society to. This is part of mass brainwashing. This is how they do it. Repeating these racist narratives. Sure, even if people object to it, the point is they keep putting it out there. It's meant to be part of the discourse, even if for no other reason than you have to sit there and refute it, to rebut it, to denounce it. And this is the entire reason that we don't hear more stories like this, because the white media makes sure to censor them and they make sure to ignore them. See, they didn't know that these two heroes who stopped this would-be mass shooting were black. They didn't know that part. They only want to report on stories like this if they can show a white hero. Just like in their movies and TV shows. They demand that the spotlight be on a white person, and if it's not, then they pretend.
Somebody made a video about that not too long ago I was watching. in your movies, they always have to have a character. Well, you didn't see that in Sinners. That's another reason why they got so mad about that. They always have to have this so-called white character that's the good guy, you know, even though they are, because they're being portrayed as they really are, so they have to offset that. The movie I'm thinking about is, damn it, the movie about the 4 Jake women that were at NASA. God dang it, what's the name of that? Oh man, what is the name of that? Because I didn't see it, but damn it, was it something numbers? Let's see. Is it hidden? Wait a minute. Hold on. Is this it? I thought it was numbers. Wait a minute. Let's see. Okay. I said 4. Was it 3? Like I said, I haven't seen it. Hidden Figures. Okay. I didn't think it was 10 years ago. Damn. Let's see. Okay, it was 3. My bad. Yeah. Okay. Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe. Kevin Costner's character was not. That's a made-up character. They just did that. I think there was a scene in the video I saw. They expressly pointed that out. That the scene where they had God dang, what was something to do with restrooms, because they had to go like a ways to use the restroom for the black women, and he took a broom or something and knocked the sign down, and anyway, his character didn't even exist, but they put that in there, and this is what they do. All right. Oh man, these people are so. I mean, the projection. Wow. Ooh wee. Yeah, but this is what they do. Even in the Black Panther, the first one. The CIA guy. That was one of those characters. All right. Wow.
Pretend like they didn't know about it. Well, in this case, you had a gunman who murdered 2 people and was getting ready to kill more. The story had already gone viral. The white media showed up quickly as possible because, after all, in this business, if you're not first, you're last. But the problem was, as soon as they saw those 2 black men, we didn't know it was going to be like this. We made a mistake. And smearing these 2 black men after the fact, well, that's the white media's consolation prize. Can you afford to believe anything that comes from such obsessively racist people like this? So the point of this evening address is, yes, it is good that these men are being praised. They should, and more just like them should also receive their due. The problem happens to be that if these men had had anything other than their bare hands, the white media had their narrative set up for that one, and that's a problem. Black people ought to be able to defend themselves and to defend others by whatever means they require. Everybody else is running around with guns, and nobody ever questions their right to bear arms or to use them in self-defense or the defense of others. But with black people, well, that's too much power for a black person to have. In fact, it's also a problem that they're just barehanded. The fact that you're barehanded, that's a problem. I mean, now you're using too much force, you see. A black person barehanded, that's just excessive force. I mean, all you had with this other guy was just a handgun, an assault rifle, and 10 bandoliers and magazines of bullets. But this black person barehanded, I mean, clearly the black person had the upper hand. There's just too much force. Excessive force, I tell you. So no, we do not ever want an environment where anybody sits here and says, well, if the black person had used a firearm, they would have been completely justified. And they should not be charged with anything. And it's way past time that we started conditioning these bastards that that's exactly the response that they're going to give. A black person is never supposed to hesitate when it comes to defending themselves or defending others. That's part of the reason why you got all these white supremacist trash running around thinking that they can pull these ambushes. Because they know that they're in an environment that is completely and thoroughly hostile toward black people defending themselves. Well, we're going to make that normal. We're going to regularize that. And we're also going to normalize calling out the white media for this garbage. We see them, and we're going to be on their behinds about it. So yes, these are the heroes we need, but we need to make sure black people know that had they shot him dead, they would have been in the right, and the thugs in blue would have most likely tried to kill them. And that's what would have been wrong. That's what the narrative should be in a case like this. Had these men used guns, they would have been right, but would the police have decided to try to open fire on them, keep the bastards in blue on the defensive? That's the only responsible journalism that would have come out of this. So in closing to this evening address, I'm going to say what a lot of folks have just been too bashful to say.
The mother of Amanda Frias Rosas saying she appreciates the men who helped catch him.
Oh, they're my heroes.
Due to the guys that saved everybody else from possible more danger, those guys are superheroes. They say heroes don't wear capes, but they're superheroes.
Folks are calling these two black men good Samaritans. Others are calling them superheroes. Well, that's certainly an accurate description of them. There's a lot of truth to that. Sure, not all heroes have capes, but the strongest ones have melanin. Good evening, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Shrampstein, Kenneth Pressure.
So there you have it. I mean, it's always been this all-out war on assaulting the character of any Jake, especially when it comes to this media. You have to realize that media is a weapon, all right, a white supremacy, a huge one as a matter of fact, in and of itself. And this is what they do. Let me finish Proverbs out. Proverbs 26 and 25. When he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart, whose hatred is covered by deceit. His wickedness shall be shewed before the whole congregation. And again, this is the year that the elder apostle Tahar deemed the year of motherfuckers being exposed, things being revealed, people being revealed for who and what they are, namely these Edomites. All right. Yeah. So with that, I hope whoever views this video has been edified. Excuse me. And this is from, again, the Professor Black Truth website, YouTube site that is. But yeah, this is what Jake has to go through on a daily. All right. It's like, you know, these old black codes and shit like that. Jake is still under. We're still under the curses. All right. Even though they are being transferred to our enemies. All right. But we're not out of the we're not out of here yet. All right. So you have to keep that in mind in your dealings. All right. And how try to understand how people are still going to deal with you. All right. As an Israelite. Because that's the main thing. All right. It ain't about black and all that. All right. So with that, hey, once again, keep your eyes and ears open. Remain circumspect, especially at these times now. Like I said, hell, it's like 96 degrees here. It's some odd fucking variations in the weather here. And then come Thursday, it's going to be back down in the 50s. I mean, yeah, on through the weekend, I think. But in any case, keep those eyes and ears open. All right. So until the next video, hey, shalom.